Well, welcome back to Managerial Accounting. So the 15th annual All Souls race, 5K race, 2K walk came off yesterday. And as you know, it rained heavily for most of the weekend, but the sun came out and shined brightly on the race. So if you look on the left there is me. Notice sporting my favorite sweatshirt from my favorite school, proudly representing Suffolk Community College. And you'll see up at the top, I've got my All Souls hat. So I mentioned to you a couple of times, I'm the director for the race. And the guy on my right-hand side is Brookhaven Town Councilman Jonathan Conright, and he presented us a certificate of appreciation for the things that we do, including our commitment to make the church accessible to the community. You look over there on the right, this is the starting line, and you could see that there were serious runners, and we also had some serious runners of all ages and all fitness levels. And you'll notice there that the serious runners are on the, we also had a running hot dog and a running mustard container, and we had a running bumblebee and a running butterfly, and we also had a running chicken somewhere in the crowd. So it was an interesting day. So sorry none of you were able to join us this year. Maybe next year. A lot of fun. So moving back to managerial accounting, basically what I want to do now, and just to finish up our lecture on chapter 4, there were two things I didn't get to in class. One was applying activity-based costing for a service business, and the other was using activity-based costing in decision-making. So just a couple of slides I want to go through with you, if I can find them. I know they're here somewhere. Up there they are. And let's get the full view on this thing. There we are. So activity-based costing in a service business. So a lot of what we do with activity-based costing we did for a manufacturing business, we could also do for a service business. Take something near and dear to my heart, with my mother-in-law being in a rehab hospital, then a rehab facility for her recent broken hip. I know all about hospital bills, and hospitals used activity-based costing to allocate their overhead costs to patients. So mythical, for illustration purposes, we're going to take a look at Hopewell Hospital, and they apply activity-based costing in terms of allocating overhead to their patients. So we've got to identify the various activities involved. We have to determine the activity rate for each activity. And then we allocate the cost to patients based on the activity actual usage. And as far as some of the activities that might be applicable in a hospital setting: admission, radiological, those are the fancy pictures they take; testing, operating room, God forbid you have to go there; pathological testing, I think that's lab results and stuff; and dietary and laundry. So those are the different areas of overhead that we're going to assign to patients. So using a process very similar to what we did for the company that made snowmobiles and riding mowers, we come up with activity in admission. So it's $180 per admission. Radiological testing, it's $320 per radiological image. That's X-ray. Operating room, $200 per operating room hour. Testing is $120 per specimen, and dietary and laundry is $150 a day. So we come up and compute those rates as we did in a manufacturing for those various activities. So here we're just going to focus in on radiological testing. So we had budgeted $960,000 worth of overhead. Our activity base there is on basis of images. We project that we'll have 3,000 images, and that's where we came up with our $320 per image overhead allocated to each patient. So this particular patient that we have here allocating this cost to this Mia Wilson, hopefully she's out of the hospital by now. You can see the overhead actually assigned to her. So she was admitted once. There were 2 radiological images that were taken. She spent 4 hours in the operating room. I hope things went well. There was 1 specimen that they collected for pathological testing, and she was in the hospital for 7 days. So she is assigned $2,790. And you see here, for allocating these costs in service business, they're very similar to allocating costs in a manufacturing, as we would have seen with the snowmobiles and the riding mowers. All right, so here is her report. So we billed her. This is a pretty inexpensive hospital here. $3,300 was the revenues that we made on her. And the total costs that we have were $2,990 was assigned to her. So we made an operating profit on her of $310. So it looks like a fairly low priced hospital there. Okay, so that was taking a look at activity-based costing in the service business. The last thing we're going to take a look at is the using activity-based, and get my head out of the way here. I want to lose my head. The activity-based costing to make decisions. So we've got a company called ABC, and this is the overhead that they have assigned for each product. So the activity costs that they have there for assembly, for setup, for production controls, materials, moving, testing. So they got $36 worth of overhead assigned to these 40-inch monitors. And the company is interested in reducing costs. So they say, look, let's figure out a way to see if we can cut $3 worth of activity costs from the product in order to remain price competitive. And we can accomplish this in one of two ways. We can improve operations so the activity-based usage per unit is either reduced or eliminated. Or maybe we can change the classification of employees and have higher classified employees are more expensive. Maybe we can use lower level employees who are less expensive. So we try to make some changes to the process. So we improve the setup activity required to 1/3 less time, and the moving distance was cut in half. And let's see if these improvements would actually reduce the activity costs by $3 from the product. So with the changes that we made, we were able to get a reduction. Shaded areas show the improvement. Setup was reduced from 3 hours to 0.3 hours to 0.2 hours. We did that. And the moving distance was from 0.4 hour to 0.2 hours. So these changes reduced the activity costs for each monitor from $36 to $36.40, reduced it by $4.40, thus exceeding our target of $3 cost savings. So this is how you would actually use this type of information in terms of decision making. So the costs were $36. Or we wanted to see if we get it down to 33. We made a couple of changes, and lo and behold, by making those changes, we reduced it from down to 31.60. So we were successful. So just to summarize here what we tried to do in this chapter, we tried to describe the 3 methods used for activity-based costing. So which were the single plant-wide rate, the multiple production department rate, the activity-based costing rate. Then we used activity to allocate selling and administrative expenses. Then we used activity-based costing in the service business. And then we showed how activity-based costing could be used in decision-making. So I hope you found that little summary helpful in terms of your mastering of chapter 4. And I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday when we'll review the multiple choice questions at the back of each chapter. And I'll also give you the take-home part of the exam, which we'll have next Thursday. Okay, or this coming Thursday. Be well, everybody. Talk to you soon. And don't forget Souls for All Souls, 16th annual race and walk next year.